Welcome to DWBIADDA channel. Please subscribe for latest training videos.
Hello friends, in today's video we will be learning about the playbooks and its features, and this is the part 1 of the video. Now first of all, what are playbooks? So playbooks are a completely different way to use Ansible than in ad hoc task execution mode and are particularly powerful. So the playbooks are a way different from the ad hoc commands that we used in executing the code in Ansible. Now talking about the playbooks, are the basis for really simple configuration management and multi-machine deployment system. So by this we means that we are able to deploy over multiple machines by using this configuration management tool, and like this no other product exists in the market as of now, and it is very well suited to deploy complex application also. So the basic functionality of playbooks is to declare the configurations, and they can also orchestrate steps of manual ordered process, even as different steps must bounce back and forth between sets of machines in particular orders. So let's say if we are defining a configuration file using the playbooks, then we can simply write down the steps in the form of code which needs to be performed, and those steps could be both set between different machines, and also we can launch tasks synchronously or asynchronously. So if we want to perform some tasks, then we can simply write down the code for those tasks and the order in which they need to be performed over the multiple machines, and they can also be done in a synchronous way, or if we want we can also perform them in asynchronous way. Now the loop are also a big feature of the Ansible configuration environment. Now sometimes we want to repeat a task multiple times, and in computer programming this is simply called loop. So common Ansible loops include changing ownership on several files or directory with the file modules. So the file module is basically used to change the ownership of a file or directory in the Ansible loops, and we can also create multiple users with the help of the user module, and repeating a polling step until a certain result is reached. So we can do these things easily with the help of these modules which are provided in the Ansible environment for the beneficiary of loops. Now, what are different type of tasks which we can perform using loops? So first of all, we can iterate over a simple list. So if we want, we can simply do an iteration over a simple list of figures or tasks which needs to be performed. And we can also iterate over a list of hashes or directory. And in case if we want to do some registering of variables, we can also do that with the help of loop. So we can simplify the process of the whole task by registering the variables, so that those variables can be used in future by the loops. And we can also use the nested lists, or we can also perform looping over the inventory. So the looping is not only restricted to the tasks or the configuration files, we can also perform the looping over the inventory. So it gives the users a wide range of approach and accessibility to the Ansible environment. Now conditionals are also a part of the Ansible environment. So often the result of play may depend on the value of variable. So whenever we are writing a playbook, then its results may depend upon the value of variable which we are using, and it also can depend on the previous task results. So there are different type of conditional statement which we can use by in configuring the playbook file, and some of them are the when statement. So the when statements we can use when we want to skip a particular start step on a particular host. And the second statement is loops and conditionals. So whenever we are combining loops and conditionals, then these are processed separately from the when statement. So the loops and conditionals are a different statements from the when statement. Also we can load in the custom facts. So it's also very easy to provide your own facts if you want. So we can simply provide our own facts while configuring the playbook. And also we can register variables. So often in a playbook it may be useful to store the result of a given command in a variable and access it later. So the basic fundamental ideology behind the introduction of variable is to store some values and use them in future, so that we don't need a repetition in the process. Now there is delegation, rolling updates and local actions, and these are all related to the Ansible environment. So being designed for multi-tier deployments since the beginning, Ansible is a great at doing things on one host on behalf of another, or doing local steps with reference to some remote host. So as the whole Ansible environment was basically designed for multiple tier deployments in the beginning, but it can also help us in handling a single host with the utmost efficiency. And this is in particular very applicable when setting up continuous deployment infrastructure or zero time downtime in rolling updates. So the load balancers and monitoring systems can also be included in all this. So whenever we want a multiple or continuous deployment infrastructure with a relative zero downtime, and we also provide the rolling updates or the updates at proper time, then we can simply use the Ansible tools and its features, and we can also involve other tools like load balance and monitoring system in parallelly working on the same thing. And also the additional features allow for tuning the orders in which things complete, and assigning a batch a window size for how many machines to process at once during a rolling update. So these are some of the customizations which we can do by using the additional features, like assigning a batch window size. So by assigning a batch window size, we are simply giving a time frame for the batch window to get deployed at different machines, and also a time frame for which the updates can be rolled. Now, if you want, we can also perform a task on a single host with a reference to other hosts, and use delegate to keyword on a task. So delegate to is basically used for taking a reference from a different host on a particular host, and those reference can be in certain criteria, like those can be in playbook files or configurations. And friends, that was all for today's video. Thank you.